How's it? And welcome to the Be Creative channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to use AMSTERDAM's Acrylic Retarder. Now every paint manufacturer has their own retarder or flow improver, and I've used all of them with good results. Then I was told about this product by Supernova Studio. I was given a bottle to try out and to give my honest opinion. I've used this with a few different paint types over the last few weeks. So the results and my comments are based on my own actual personal experience of using it. Now on the bench you see various acrylic paints. There's Vallejo's Gloss Black Surface Primer, Vallejo's Premium Airbrush Color, Vallejo's Art Deco range of paint, Vallejo's Game Color, Vallejo's Model Air range of paint, and I have a bottle of AK Interactive's 3rd generation Air Series paint. I'm going to paint each of these in three different ways. The first way I'm going to do it is I'm going to airbrush each of these products, each of these paints, using just the thinner, using the manufacturer's recommended thinning ratios. The second method that I'm going to be using is I'm going to airbrush it, mixing it just with AMSTERDAM Acrylic Retarder, and we're going to see the results. The third method is I'm going to use a paintbrush to brush paint it using what is left in the color cup and apply it to a model surface. The airbrush that I'll be using for this is Supernova Studio's Ninja airbrush with a 0.3mm needle. I'll post the link of this airbrush in the description so you can go check it out. Right, so I'm going to get set up, so don't go away. First color we're going to deal with is Vallejo's Black Surface Primer. I have inside the color cup 5 drops of the surface primer with 2 drops of the thinner. So let's airbrush this and see what it looks like. I seem to be spraying it on a little bit too thick there. Let's just try and air dry this a bit. As you can see, it requires multiple layers, so you got to do layer after layer, making sure that each layer is dry before you can actually apply the next layer. Just air drying it, just pushing air through the airbrush just to dry it off a little bit. to a final coat. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to clean out the airbrush and I'm going to get the next color ready for the next little part of the sprue that we're going to color. The next paint that we're going to airbrush is Vallejo's Premium Airbrush color. Now these already come mixed. It's not necessary to thin them out. However, for my demonstration purposes, I've got 5 drops of the Premium Airbrush color and 2 drops of water, just to help with the airbrushing process a little bit better. So let's airbrush this and see how we go. Air drying it a little bit. And there we go. As you can see, the paint is a lot more opaque than the Vallejo surface primer, requiring a lot less layers. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to clean out the airbrush and prepare the next paint. The next paint that we're going to airbrush is from Vallejo. It's the Art Deco range. This paint is a lot thicker than the regular airbrush paints and Vallejo model paints and everything, so it is necessary to actually thin it a lot more than the surface primer as well as the model paints. My thinning ratio, well, I've got 5 drops of the Art Deco paint as well as 5 drops of the Vallejo thinner. So let's airbrush and see what this looks like. Colors are very opaque, and as you can see, it's almost instant dry. So the minute it touches the surface, it's actually starting to dry, and you can layer it very thinly because of the opacity. So that's the Art Deco paint. As I said, it is actually meant for brush painting. But if you actually work with your thinning ratios and sort of experiment a bit, you can actually airbrush these paints quite successfully. Right, so I'm going to pause the video again. I'm going to then prepare for the next paint. The next paint up is Vallejo's Game Color. Now again, this is slightly thicker than the airbrush paints, you know, the Model Air and the airbrush premium paint. So thinning it is going to require a little bit more thinning. Manufacturer's recommendation is 50-50, so 50% paint, 50% thinners. My mixing ratio is I've got 5 drops of the game color and 3 drops of the thinner. Okay, so let's airbrush this and see what it looks like. As you can see, colors are very opaque. Goes down nice and smoothly. Dries instantly to a nice matte finish. Let's just air dry this a little bit. Now, as you can see, I put on very few layers, and the color is like vibrant, very opaque, and yeah, very few layers, and dries instantly to a nice matte finish. Okay, so I'm going to clean the airbrush out, and I'm going to get the next one ready to demo. The next paint is Vallejo's Model Air range. Okay, now the name says it all. It says Model Air because it's meant to be put straight into the airbrush and you just airbrush it straight away. If you feel that you need to thin it, do it very sparingly. Of course, you need to experiment and see what thinning ratio you want to is actually the best for you. Okay, so what I've got is I've got a couple of drops of the Vallejo Model Air paint inside the airbrush. I haven't thinned it at all. I'm just spraying it straight from the bottle. So let's see what it looks like. As you can see, the colors are pretty opaque, but you do need to apply it in layers, you know, so don't try and do it all at once. You do it in light layers. What can also be noticed here is it's almost instant dry as well. I mean, if I put a little bit of air, you can actually see how it's drying. It dries to a nice semi-sheen to matte finish. I'm going to put one more light layer on. And as you can see, it's virtually dry now. So that's the Vallejo Model Air. Colors are nice and opaque, requiring less layers, and yeah, dries to a nice even matte finish. Okay, so I'm going to clean out the airbrush and I'm going to get the last color ready. The last paint that we're going to be doing is AK Interactive's 3rd generation acrylic from the Air series. Now they say that you can use this directly from the bottle without having to thin it. I have found that it is necessary to thin it, more or less sort of like the same thinning ratio as the Vallejo Game Color series. So yeah, I've got 5 drops of the paint and 3 drops of the thinner. So let's airbrush this and see how it looks. paint is definitely thicker, but dries virtually instantly on the surface to a nice matte finish. Yeah, so the colors are there's a nice opacity to the color, so you don't need to put a lot of layers, and it dries to a nice matte finish. So that's AK Interactive's 3rd gen acrylics. I'm going to clean out my airbrush, and then we'll start with the testing of the AMSTERDAM Acrylic Retarder with each of these colors. Be back soon. Alright, let's continue with showing you the results using the acrylic retarder. As in the first lot that I airbrushed, I'm going to start off with Vallejo's Black surface primer. I've got 5 drops of the surface primer inside my color cup, and I've added 2 drops of the retarder. Yes, only 2 drops. Okay, so let's see how this goes now. As you can see, paint goes on nice and even. Now what this retarder is supposed to do is it's also supposed to help with the self-leveling properties of the paint. So it actually, you know, as it's drying, it sort of levels itself out. What should also be noted as well, this is a retarder, so therefore the paint is going to take a little bit longer to dry, which is actually a good thing, because as it dries it levels out, which will leave you with a nice smooth finish. Okay, so there we have the Vallejo Black surface primer, gloss black surface primer. I'm going to leave that to dry. I'm going to clean out the airbrush, and we'll come back and we'll then do the next color. The next paint that we're going to do, airbrush, mixing with the AMSTERDAM Acrylic Retarder, is Vallejo's Premium Airbrush Color. I've mixed this 5 drops of the Premium Airbrush Color, and I've added 2 drops of the acrylic retarder. So let's see how this airbrushes through. Still nice and opaque. Goes on nice and smoothly. And there you have it. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry and clean out the airbrush, and I'll get the next color ready. I do apologize. What I have forgotten to do is actually do the brush testing as well. So for the Vallejo Premium Airbrush Color, I've taken what is left in the cup, and I'm going to now apply it using a paintbrush. As you can see, it flows pretty easily, and it leaves absolutely no brush strokes at all. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry, and then yeah, we'll clean out the airbrush and get the next part of the next color ready to use with the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder. Okay, I seem to have hit a little bit of a recording boo-boo there. I was busy doing the demo of airbrushing and brush painting the Art Deco paints mixed with the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder. The mixing ratio that I used for this was 5 drops of the Art Deco paint, 2 drops of the acrylic retarder, and 1 drop of the acrylic thinner. Now, it is necessary to add thinner to this because the consistency of the Art Deco paint is a lot thicker than the normal paints that you would, than the paints that you would normally airbrush. Okay, so the finish is pretty nice. It's actually very nice. It's nice, smooth and even. The retarder has made everything sort of like level out nicely. Brush painting, the brush strokes went on nice and smoothly. You can't actually see the brush strokes. This is still drying a little bit, but we'll come back to this a little bit later when we come to the conclusion to see the overall finish. So that's the Art Deco paints mixed with the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder. I'm going to get set up for the next color. See you soon. The next paint on the bench is Vallejo's Game Color. Now, mixing ratio for this, I have done 5 drops of the Game Color and 2 drops of the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder and 1 drop of thinner. This being due to the fact that the Game Color paints, like the Art Deco paints, is slightly thicker than the average airbrush paint. Okay, so let's airbrush this and see how it looks. Goes on nice and smoothly with good coverage. What should be noticed is I'm only doing light layers here, and it hasn't altered the opacity of the actual paint at all. So that's it, airbrushed. Let's pull the little sample with where I'm going to do a brush painting. Okay, so I'm going to dip my paintbrush into the color cup here, and we're going to apply it with a paintbrush. Still very smooth application. It doesn't leave any streaking lines at all. So obviously when it dries, you're not going to see any brush strokes. Goes on nice and smoothly and very evenly. The color is still very opaque as in the original. Okay, so that's the Game Color. I'm going to clean out the airbrush and let this dry a bit, and then we'll move on to the next color. See you soon. The next paint that we're going to use with the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder is the Vallejo's Model Air range of paint. Now, just remember that the Model Air paints are solely for airbrushing. You basically, from the bottle into your color cup, spray straight away. No need to thin it out. For this reason, I have added 5 drops of the Model Air color and 1 drop of the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder. Okay, so let's airbrush this and see how it looks. Immediately the paint comes out nice and smoothly, nice even coverage, no splattering. So good coverage. Again, it should be noted that I'm doing this in light layers. I'm not flooding the surface. And that's it, airbrushed. Seems to have a nice smooth finish to it. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to dry because of it being a retarder. So that's it, airbrushed. I'm going to pull out that little sample piece now. I'm going to brush paint. Let's dip the paintbrush into the color cup and let's see what it does. Goes on nice and smoothly. Does seem to lose its opacity a little bit. Put some more on the paintbrush again and do a second coat. It does seem to need more than 1 coat, possibly 2 or 3. But that's obviously because, well, this is for airbrush paint, you know. It's meant to be airbrushed. It's not supposed to be brush painted. So I'm going to clean out the airbrush and I'll then get ready for the last paint for this demo. Right, the last paint that we're going to be doing a demo with the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder is the AK Interactive 3rd generation acrylics from the Air series. Now, as seen in the previous demo where I just mixed it with the thinners, it is necessary to thin this out, even though they say you can just airbrush it straight from the bottle. So what I've done is I have got 5 drops of the AK paint in the color cup. I've added 1 drop of acrylic retarder and 1 drop of the acrylic thinner. So let's see how this airbrushes. Straight away you can see that the coverage is nice and smooth, comes out very evenly, no splattering. The opacity is still nicely there. seems to be pooling just a little bit in certain areas. I've got a little bit of fish eye there. But hopefully with the retarder it'll sort of like level out. Okay, so we've now airbrushed it. Now I'm going to get our little sample piece here, and I'm going to apply it using a paintbrush now. I'll dip the paintbrush into my color cup, and let's see how this goes on. Goes on nice and smooth and evenly. No visible brush strokes. Does seem to be a little bit on the thin side, so you might need to do like 2 or 3 coats maybe. But no visible paintbrush streaking or marks. And you can see there it's actually pooling away from the hard edges. So yeah, you're going to have to need to put a second coat or maybe even a third coat to cover that up. Okay, so that's airbrushing and brush painting the AK 3rd generation acrylic. I'm going to clean out this airbrush and then we can do a quick wrap up. So to wrap up, is Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder worth getting? In my opinion, yes. And I'm going to explain to you why in the next couple of minutes. When I was cleaning the airbrush after spraying the paints mixed with just the thinner, I could see paint drying around the tip. You know, the usual tip dry. However, when cleaning the needle after airbrushing the paints mixed with the retarder, this was very minimal and in some places non-existent. The paints mixed with the thinners only, they did dry quickly and the finish was fairly smooth on most of the paints except for the gloss primer. The gloss primer seems to have a slightly speckled or splotchy look to it. The Art Deco, which is the green one here, has a slight orange peel look to it. And the Model Air and the AK 3rd generation acrylic, it has a nice cover, you know, the coverage is good. It's a nice smooth finish, but there is a slight graininess to it. So it looks good, but you know, the finish is slightly grainy. This is not the case with the paints mixed with the acrylic retarder. The finish on all of them and the coverage is smooth and consistent. The retarder has slowed the drying process enough so that the paint can actually level out properly, leaving a nice smooth finish. Brush painting has also got left good smooth finishes with no visible brush strokes or streaks on all the paints. The Art Deco and Game Color showed good coverage with just one single application. So the Art Deco and the Game Color, I only needed to apply it once and it was covered, you know, nice smooth finish, no brush strokes. The premium airbrush, the Model Air and the AK 3rd generation. So the premium airbrush, Model Air and the AK 3rd generation acrylic, the coverage is good. However, I found that here on the hard edge, or sort of like where the corner is, the paint actually started to separate. So it is going to be necessary to do 2, maybe 3 coats to actually cover that up. So to conclude, Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder produces a slightly better finish than just, if you just had to just add thinner to it, to your paint. For brush painting of miniatures and figures, this acrylic retarder slows the drying process enough to give more time to create smooth blends. It also dries to a smooth finish without worrying about brush strokes or brush streaks. I wish to thank Supernova Studio for providing the Amsterdam Acrylic Retarder. I'll be posting a link in the description of this product, so you can click on it and go straight to the product page. But don't just stop there. Browse the many hobby and craft products that are available at Supernova Studios. If you haven't registered an account, then do so. It's absolutely free, and you're not obliged to order or purchase anything when signing up. Another great thing is, if you see something that you like, then just click the add to wish list button, and when you're ready to make your purchase, log into your account, open your wish list, select the items that you're going to purchase, and then head straight to the checkout and payments page. It's that simple and convenient. I want to thank you for watching, and it would be greatly appreciated if you give this video a thumbs up. You're also welcome to leave a comment or suggestion or any ideas for future content that you would like to see. If you wish to receive notifications and updates of new content, then do hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel. Then go to the little notification bell, click on that, select all, and you will receive a notification as soon as anything is published. Coming soon will be part 2 of the video build for Edwards Mirage 3 CZ in 1:48 scale. So in closing, go forth, be inspired, be imaginative, most importantly, be creative. Cheers.